So my friend Sage said this: yellow is a trash tier color. It can't really exist as a tint, or else it looks too orange or too green. Yellow has to be perfectly yellow, or else it's not yellow anymore, and that's just bad design, and I have to agree. Okay, so the thing about me and color yellow is, let me just full screen this. I have a hard time using it as anything other than just a solid flat color. And this is coming from me who absolutely adores drawing characters like Terry Bogard or even Pokemon like Pikachu. Like, let me just... Okay, so I can do things like... man, that is a really small canvas, or that's a really small thing. So, speaking of Pikachu, I'm just going to draw a Pikachu. It's not going to look great, but you know, that's not the purpose of this. It's not to be great, it's just to kind of prove my point. Okay, give him a little thing. And yeah, the line art is not great. But what can you do? It's not the point. Because, yeah. It's actually starting to look a little bit like Twig from Hilda now that I think about it. There we go. Just simple drawn. I'm not even going to pay attention to any of the extra lines. There we go. But anyways, as I was saying, yellow is one of those tricky colors, because yeah, I can do it like that, but it kind of makes it a little too gold or too I don't know, too brown. But if I make it yellow like this, it looks too much like highlighter. I mean, Pikachu's not exactly a highlighter, now is he? But that's not the only gripe I have with yellow. Another gripe I have with yellow is it's nigh impossible to do any sort of lighting. Oops. There we go. It's nigh impossible to do with any sort of lighting. Like, say I wanted to make the light source come from here. God, that looks terrible. It just doesn't look right. The cream color just doesn't fit. And yeah, this is what it is. It's a cream color. Well, it's within the yellow spectrum. It has more white than it does yellow. Now, what I could do is lower the opacity, but even then, that still looks too much like the similar yellow. It looks gross, and I don't like it. Now, if I try to use blue with lighting, like I usually do, because I usually... Blue Pikachu. Pika-blue. Sorry. But anyways, but if I try to use blue on yellow, it just becomes kind of a green, and I don't like that. And if I try to use pink, which is another color I like to use for highlighting, I mean, yeah, the pink and yellow look fine as flat colors, but if I try to do that, it looks like Pikachu has skin, like human skin. And, you know, I could also, and while I can do things like use the layer options, like use lighting that makes it look way too light, overlay that does nothing, soft light that also does nothing, hard light, it makes it look white again, and you just put it as, you put the opacity down, it's just another yellow, and it just doesn't work. That's difference that actually inverts the colors. But you put on hue, That doesn't do anything. So you can't use pink. So what's the only color you have to do? The color that I despise using for any sort of lighting, and that's white. Like, but even then you might as well just be like, oh, I'm just gonna use a light yellow for lighting instead of anything that reflects the lighting color in general. And even then it looks bad. It just looks really bad. And I could do things like soft light, but that doesn't do anything. Or hard light, which just keeps it white, and you might as well just kept it on normal. And don't get me started on the color hues. Let me just move that so that way my phone doesn't go into sleep mode. Like, this Pikachu is a very highlight yellow. It's near the default yellow, like in MS Paint. Sorry about that, that's one of my alarms. That's meant for one of my brothers. You got that highlighter yellow, a golden yellow, which looks better, but that's more towards orange, and it's not really a yellow anymore. It's more of a citrus color. But then if you get it too green, it kind of has that gross, not quite lime, but not quite yellow look. I don't like that color at all. And then there's highlighter again. And then if you try to darken your yellows, you just kind of get like brown or kind of this tannish color, beige. Maybe not beige. I don't know what it is. Almost a tan. Another orange. You get this like kind of greenish brown. Yellow is just not a great color at all, because all these shades just are different shades that just don't work. And don't get me started, I'm looking at my phone and it's completely different than my laptop. I mean, on my computer, the green, the third color on top, looks more like kind of a gross green, but on my phone it looks more lime than yellow. And this is why it's such a pain in the butt to work with. And with shading, now I always use kind of a purple or a blue for my shading. Usually something like that. I use it, fill it up, and then multiply. But look at that, it makes a red. You practically have to put the opacity near 0 in order to get the lighting or the shading even remotely decent. And that's just usually with that's usually with the purple that I use. Now, like I said, purple's not the only color. Sometimes I'll use this like really nice kind of dark blue, depending on the situation I'm using for shading. And blue and yellow looks good together, but that's only as flat colors. Now, look at that, it just turns black. Well, not even black. It's like a dark gray. And then you go to lower the opacity to make that shading color, and it just turns into like a green. Ugh. Yellow is like the most painful thing to shade. So what do you have to do? You have to use red usually. Or at least that's what I do. I usually use red to shade any sort of yellow. Did I fill it in? Okay, I did. Multiply. And look, multiply didn't really even do anything. It just made it look still red, and you have to practically just get it back to opacity 30 in order for it to look good. Like, red is the only color that can make any sort of yellow shading work. Not purple, not blue, not any of the cool colors. And by cool colors, I mean like literally cool colors within the dark spectrum. Although blue is a nice color. I do like it. But you gotta use yellow. You practically, or not yellow, you have to use red. And you have to use frickin' like white, or maybe even this bright of a pink, which I rarely use this bright of a pink for any sort of lighting. That pink actually worked better for the shading than the red. What the hey? And I don't usually use that pink for shading. I usually use that pink for highlighting. Can't do soft light, can't do hard light. And hard light makes the yellow practically invisible. Did I draw that on the wrong layer? No, I did not. Good. Oh, another thing. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll use kind of a green for lighting. Because there's some situations where it calls for green. Like if you're under a street lamp, or if you're near a city with neon lights, you kind of need to use that nice lime green and use it for your lighting. Or at least what I do. But against yellow, it doesn't do very well. Like, it just doesn't mix. So trying to find that perfect yellow, or that perfect color for any sort of lighting, sucks. Okay, let me give an example. Let me just put the red for Pikachu's cheeks. See? It's a cute red. Okay, it's not my favorite red, but it's a cute red. We do the lime green thing that I was talking about. Okay, maybe that didn't look as good as lighting as I thought it did. What did I do? Okay. Ignore that. Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not the perfect artist when it comes to lighting. As a matter of fact, I'm still working on it myself, but you get things like blue or pink, and it just works so well for the lighting in Pikachu's cheeks. That perfect pink that matches. And again, sometimes you just have to use blue when you're doing lighting, but the moment you use the same blue on the yellow to try and get that perfect lighting, it just doesn't work. Not at all. Sorry, I just wanted to rant about yellow because I saw my friend's tweet and I'm like, yeah, I agree. And this is coming from me, who draws characters like Terry Bogard. But the thing about Terry Bogard is, even when I just color drop even if I just color drop his hair from like an artwork or a sprite, it's not even a full yellow. It's more of a cream. Like, let me find an example. Okay, the typical Smash Bros. Coloration. Like, let me just go to a new layer. Bap. Oops. That moment when you have it right above the layer. Like, okay. So, say I wanted to color drop it. Color drop that yellow in his hair. It's either a cream, a brown, or if I'm just really unlucky and I can't color drop that exact yellow, it just becomes another cream. And this is why I hate yellow. And if you use the cream as a flat color, it just doesn't look good. It just looks like cream. It would just blend too much with the skin tone color. Okay, but if I try to go with the more shaded colors, like within here, it's still not even a yellow. None of this is yellow. It's not even an orange yellow. So what I have to do is just try to match. I had to try to match this with like any other color. And it's like, do I go with an orange? Do I go with a light cream? Do I lower the color spectrum and just go with a highlighter? But that doesn't look good. So I have to go back to orange, go more towards the red spectrum, and be like, aha, yeah, this color works perfect for hair. But then you run into the problem of, does this color actually work for hair, or is it just going to mend into the skin tone color? And it sucks. Well, that's my rant. This was completely unscripted. I just wanted to do this for my friend. They're really cool. And like I said, once they made that Twitter post, I was like, you know what? I want to rant. Because I agree with everything. It's such a low tier color.